Welcome to our. No, wait, let me try again. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Voice This. In this episode, we'll be diving in a little deeper and looking into what successful conversational AI experiences sound like. We are joined today by none other than Ilarna Nche. Let's hear about her successes, what successful experiences sound like, and get cracking at creating some ourselves. Alright, let's get to it. Welcome, Ilarna, to the Voice This podcast. We're so glad to be having you for this episode. So, for those who don't know you, how about a quick intro about yourself?
Sure, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Milana Chat, and I am a voice developer, as one would say, in this new industry. And I basically make voice apps for Alexa, Google Home, Samsung Bixby. I'm an Alexa champion as well, and I'm also part of the Samsung Bixby partnership as well that goes on over there. So I haven't been doing it for long, but I basically make voice apps to kind of shorten it all.
How long have you been in this space for?
I would say it's coming up to 3 years. So, like I said, not that long, but I've enjoyed every part of it. I started actually during my final year of university, which was, I believe, 2017. To Yeah, 2017 is when I started. The end of 2017, and I did like a gap year, as you'd say, where you would, instead of traveling, I decided to work on and learn how to make voice apps. So that's what I spent the year of 2018 and 19 doing, and then yeah, 2020 I worked on
Wow.
voice apps.
So, why'd you choose to spend your gap year exploring conversational AI instead of exploring the world?
I think it's because you get to university and then you're at your final year and they expect you to know what you want to do. Like, oh, I'm going to apply for this job, I'm going to apply for that job, and I was at the point in time I took a course where it would literally be a bunch of different skill sets like gaming and photography and 3D modeling, literally that wide range, and web design, computer science stuff. And as I went through different modules, I came into it thinking I wanted to do 3D modeling. I thought that looks so cool. Like I've always wanted to do that with like Harry Potter and all the CGI. And I did that course and I was like, oh, I don't have the patience for 3D modeling. Like you make a 10-second clip and it's literally that took all term. So I didn't really like that. And web design, I did a placement year doing like web development, and I learned a lot of skills there, which aided uh, my skill set into voice development. So I actually learned Node.js, which became a big part of what I do now. And I didn't really, as much as web was really helpful and a good job to do because of the demand in web, I didn't really enjoy it much. And that kind of brought my, it brought my attention to that, to the fact that I didn't really want to go into a job just yet. I found out about voice during my placement year, and that's when I was like, oh, this is actually really fun. Something where I don't have to focus on the visuals because, again, I love doing mobile apps, but the issue there was design part. I'm not very good at designing like visuals and graphics. And here comes this opportunity where I can just focus on the UX in terms of the interaction, user interaction. And I really loved that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and spend a year seeing if anything can happen and get into this voice industry and success.
Clearly, yeah, that's such an interesting experience for sure. What was your gap year like? Like, what were you exploring? How did you learn about the languages or tools that you needed to get into the space?
Yeah, so firstly, because it would just be me working on these voice apps, I found like a part time job, and then I would do that at the weekend and then work on the voice apps during the week, literally. I begged my parents, like I was like, please, could I do this? Can I stay at the house another year and just do this? Like stay rent free, hopefully. And so I turned the garage into like an office space. So they really did support me on that as well. And having like the support from like the Amazon team in terms of all the tools and guides that they give you every month, and the help they give through the developer evangelists was a really big help into making loads and loads of apps. And then eventually with Samson as well, uh, it just kept getting more and more easier when I decided to network. So one piece of advice I was given during the year, which has helped me get to where I am, is networking. Go to all the meetups, go to all the events that you see if you can. Obviously now it's hard, but there's still digital online events still happening. So when that happened, I met so many more people and got to learn more about the industry. I was also told that use Twitter. It's is where our community is most active as well. So that was also a big help into discovering who is out there, who's doing what, and meeting more people that you probably won't get to meet in person. So yeah, I learned so much, not just about making and creating the apps, but also about the business and learning about the community and being a part of it. So that was a really big help.
Wow, that's interesting. So I love the piece of advice that you're following. So say if someone's kind of in your shoes or kind of like starting out, what would you recommend to them, or like a piece of advice or resources? What would you kind of give them?
I would say definitely start looking at, especially now we can see there's a lot of resources like voicebot AI is a really good piece of resource to look at and to identify what's going on in the community. There's also, like I said, Twitter, where you can find and follow people who are in the space. They give out so many helpful pieces of information, and also they can guide you to different areas. And also, I'd say, if depending if you're technically if you're highly technical, if you're a developer, you've got tools out there like Jovo, where you can create multiple for multiple platforms, not just one. And don't be scared if you, obviously, if you don't have the technical abilities, because there are tools such as VoiceFlow, which is made for people who don't have that technical ability but have the great mindset to create those user interfaces, because they do say storytellers will create the best experiences for these conversational AIs. So I think the best thing is, don't immediately shut yourself off if you don't think you're not capable, because there are tools out there such as VoiceFlow and Jovo which will help immensely creating those experiences.
Those are good points. I want to actually follow up on one of the things you mentioned when you were starting. You mentioned how there was amazing resources at Amazon and Samsung. So what were they? And are they free? Like, how do you access those?
Yes, yes. So one of the reasons I actually started, because I didn't know where to start off. I thought because I bought the Alexa back for a Christmas present in 2016 for my mom, um, and I didn't realize the apps on there when we were talking to it were made by third party developers. I think I remember I had an email, like an AWS email, that said like, "Do you want to learn how to make an Alexa skill?" And it was so easy because there was like templates and examples, and they even had like video. I'm a visual learner, so it really helps when there's videos. So it was literally, the support was amazing. Like if the support wasn't there, I don't think I'd be a bit too intimidated to start. Obviously now there's so much more to start off with, because there's so many more features. So I suggest like taking it slow and start making sure that you don't jump in too much into the deep end, because it will be easier to adapt once you get the basics down. But they've made it so much more easier now for people who just want to start, because of how big and how much it's growing. They're really trying to encourage not just developers but anyone of all backgrounds to come and try building these experiences.
Nice. Okay, neat. Must try then. I definitely will jump in and test it out for sure. A quick question for you. Is there like a specific app or a use case that you really liked from the 3 years, whether it was playing with the Alexa with your mom or like something you just discovered recently, something you might have made? No problem making a shameless plug.
No, yeah. For me, because as I always like to discuss as a user myself, I would say that the one thing I use it a lot for is most recently is finding my phone, especially now, like literally finding my phone, playing music, um, and smart home stuff, like turning off the lights and everything. That's kind of my day to day, and you can see that it's incredible that that people can make experiences where you're able to do that to help aid your life. In terms of games, because I'm a gamer, so at the moment I am addicted to Warzone, like Call of Duty Warzone. In terms of making experiences for games, there's obviously family games you can get. So one thing I wanted to create that I saw with the use case of these conversational AIs is making games with families. I think that's the perfect use case for games in this situation because I see it as something that would be played around festive times, like Christmas coming up. So
Yeah.
I was definitely that was one of the reasons why I made this game called Beat the Clock, which is like you get competitiveness and like you want those family arguments, like Monopoly. So you would literally get into teams or on your own, and then you'd get a word given to you, like a category, like for example, animals, and you just have to write down as many animals as you can think of in a certain amount of time, and then you count up the score and discuss between the family. That's where the arguments start to happen. And I was doing it for that use case, but I found out that it was also being used to like help people learn English. So a good way of them
Oh.
learning how to think of English words and stuff. And I didn't know that, but it's nice to know that there's other things that can be supported in those situations for sure. So yeah.
How did you find that out? How did you know that there was another learning coming out of this game that you created?
Yeah, I think it was basically I was showing off to my family, and then there was this like English language learning school with students, and I think one of the students were playing it, and then they were playing with their friends, and then I found out from them that they were using it to learn English, and I was like, that's so cool. Like I didn't expect that, but yeah, that's great. That it can be a learning tool. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's why I like it, really.
And I feel like that's a great segue to the topic of our episode, since you've already created conversational experiences and clearly a successful one. So, what makes a product successful? What does that mean?
Yes, I think that when you look at a product, people tend to look at the finished product. So, because you could make a really great experience and it doesn't set off, which has happened to me a bunch of times. The one skill set to make something successful is to firstly find a unique use case, find something that's different that can help. Either in this modern times, you've got something to go viral and something that will have longevity. And I think that those are the two big and main things that are so effective in this time and age. Because right now, we know that with stuff like TikTok, a great example, TikTok is the app of this year, and especially through 2020, it's been a very significant app. And you can argue that is that going to be something of longevity, or is that going to be something that will just keep trending? Because I know we had Vine before in the past. It was a popular app, did very well, but now it's gone. So you've got to think about, are you making something for life, something that you want to prolong, so it will have success for a long period of time, but then it won't have as much users, or are you looking for something that you want to make go viral? Like, do you want to make it like Michael Bublé album, for example, where every Christmas he's just racking in the money because everyone's playing his
Right?
album every year. But it's important
And
to know
Mariah
that
Carey.
you. Oh yeah, and Mariah Carey, perfect. All I Want for Christmas. She's set for life with that song. So it's
Right?
definitely important that you think about that. And if say you do want to come up with something that is going to be there in the meantime, you need to grab those people in, especially now with the market growing, and it's the right, like, it's not too late. I'd say it's the right time to keep going now, because the quality of entry is getting higher every time. So you don't want to eventually come in when you're new and the quality of entry is just beyond you, like making a game, for example. In this day and age, triple, everyone's expecting that high production value game, but you can really make an experience which can appeal to users and audiences just by catching them in firstly with a good logo design. There's stuff out there like Upwork or Fiverr, I believe. Just hire someone to make a logo, because it's shocking. In the past, my logos have been terrible, and that's just my lack of graphic design and knowledge. But I've understood recently how important it is to have good logos, because they're the first port of call that people will see, and the logo might reflect on how your game is. If you're not, or even your experience, if you're not putting effort into everything, people might think that it's not going to be good. Also, reviews as well help, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if you're shopping, you look at reviews, you trust other people's kind of reviews than your description or bio. So if you have good reviews, then definitely amplify it. And if you don't have good reviews as well, don't think that's a failure. Just read them and look at how you can make it better, how you can improve, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I love the 2 points you mentioned at the end, which is the logo as well as reviews. I've noticed that logos for conversational AI, like apps on Alexa, some of them are mediocre. Some of them you can tell like they just grabbed it off the internet. Some
Mm.
of them are really good. But so, what does a good logo mean? Like, what does it have to have? What would make a logo good?
I definitely think I for this eye catching, simply because you're scrolling and scrolling, and if you look at your phone or device, whatever you're looking at, and you see a logo that catches your eye first, you're going to look at that first, and you're going to look at the title, and you're competing against probably apps that are similar to you. So if you're typing in "I want to sleep," so sleep sounds, for example, you're competing against
Mm-hmm.
logos which look the same as well. So they'll probably look the same. Like for me, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of sleep sounds, I think of like either stars or a moon, you know, like
Right.
something just sticking out like that. So you want to make sure it stands out, but also makes sense. If you have a, a experience that is where it's title driven, you need to, I'd say, find a way to put the title in the logo, because you have to, obviously you want people to remember that experience and remember what that experience is called. So if you have something that is image driven or word driven, you need to really make sure you find someone who can, a professional, or like I said, it's not even that expensive. You've got those websites there, or even have a crack at it yourself. But just be honest, okay? Don't go to your friends or family. Find other people to do it, and give honest opinions and feedback, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. I love and one thing I wanted to talk about was reviews. So you mentioned with bad reviews, it's a good place to work on it. With your experiences with reviews for any of the products you've created, were they good reviews? And if they were bad, if you saw mostly um negative reviews, how did you kind of work on them to bring your products up?
Yeah, I definitely think is obviously it's not nice getting bad reviews, but I've managed to. I always kind of, if I see something that has good reviews, I'm grateful. I really am. It means great, it's working. But then you think, you won't probably think it needs anything different or any changes, which some don't. Some just leave them alone. But I've noticed that if I've had bad reviews, I can overcome it, listen to the feedback and changes, and make something completely better. Whereas if you get good reviews, you just feel a bit stagnant and like, oh, I'm safe. You won't play it risky. You won't have the risk card there. There's many times where you'll get bad reviews just because people are like, oh, it didn't understand me, which is out of your control. Um, Obviously, you've got times where you can have reviews where it's like, oh, it didn't work. But just take it by the chin, because at the end of the day, you're making something, and it's great that you're making it. But especially now, like you said, users will be comparing different experiences to each other. So it's important that there's best practices you can do, but also if you're trying to make an experience, you have to take into account how other people's experiences are. As if there's, for example, going back to sleep sounds, they'll be expecting a certain a certain flow for all sleep sounds to take. But in terms of reviews and listening to what people are saying, don't take it too to heart, but also get the constructive like criticism. And even like you can use beta testers beforehand to understand what your experience is doing, and don't use people you know, use people that you don't know, so that you, and don't even tell them what it's supposed to do, because you're not realistically going to be there when they're actually trying it out to tell them how it does. And that's how you know if you've made something really great.
That's interesting. How would you find people that you don't know to test your product?
um it's hard when you do that, but there are people who would be willing. If like I said, social media, you can just do a shout out and be like, is anyone willing to test out my app or game? And in you can use we can bribe them with like giveaways and stuff like that, or you win a free
Yeah.
so and so if you test out my
Mhm.
Apple game. Obviously, you can do universities or education. You can, I'm sure you can get hold of like your old school or old education. I'm sure they'll be happy to help with that if they think it will benefit them in any way. So there's so many ways you can do it. It's like at uni when you'd have to take those surveys and you'd have to hand them out, to get
Yeah,
feedback.
that's
So
yeah.
I there's a couple of ways you can do it for different reasons. Just make sure you get the right demographic as well.
That's true. That's true. That's a really, really good point. I wanted to kind of take it back to when you were talking about reviews. I know I feel like that's one of the ways you can kind of measure whether your product is successful or not. But like, are there any KPIs, analytics, anything else you can leverage to kind of see where your product stands versus others, or just in general? How would you know your success rate?
Yeah, definitely. So you've obviously got with analytics so important, because you can that's where you see the real numbers. Reviews, like I said, they show a portion of it, because you could have a load of bad reviews, but that's because people are inclined to reply or respond to bad reviews, but have so much um user like usage or retention or conversion. It's really important that, if especially if you're making changes, measure the difference in with your analytics. So measure, has that bumped up my usage if I by changing this logo. Obviously, making big changes, it will be hard to identify what's actually caused these different ranges of numbers going up or down. So if you are doing if you're trying to measure how well it is, and you've already got an app or an experience which has kind of settled itself, make small changes to see how it affects, and analyze it as well, so that you can monitor how well it's doing and if it doesn't. And most of these experiences, like platforms like Amazon and Samsung and Google, come with an analytics dashboard, so you can see just that. And they're adding more and more to it. So if you do like analyzing data, they do have a bunch, like on Amazon, for example, with the monetization, they have like retention, conversion, just to see how many have listened to an upsell or how many have converted to accepting upsells, etc., etc. So definitely like have a play around and see, um, like especially with different locales as well, how that affects, because different countries act differently as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm. I would love to know, based off of the analytics and any of the KPIs you reviewed, was there anything that you've seen that was unexpected, or maybe like you changed something for the better, but the results were completely off the charts? Like it was amazing, and you're like, oh, I did that wasn't supposed to happen. What happened there? Was there something unexpected like that happened to you while you're making your products?
Yeah, like recently and I don't even, and this is why I think it could be a seasonal thing. Recently I've had this app which I thought was dead. I call it a dead app. It was a dead app, so I just left it. And recently, no idea why, but analytics, like the usage has just soared. Um, and the behavior as well of how they interact with the app was changed. So I don't know what happened to make usage just suddenly just explode. But I don't know if it was like someone had recommended it, like or something. But that was really surprising to me. But now it's got to the point where okay, so more people are seeing this app, but this is one of these apps where I didn't really take pride in the logo, so I know it's not a logo thing. And also, I need to now go back and make sure that I up the quality. So it's one of those things where you'll have those situations where you may have a potentially good app, but it's not gonna it's not doesn't have that many people, and then you start to see all this usage and then feedback and reviews coming in, and you're like, oh, I actually do have to go back and try and make it better or make the quality, and just investing that little bit of time and effort will make all this new usage, because the more usage you have, obviously more and more people might use it, and more people will talk about it and recommend it to their friends and family. So now you've got to go and make sure that you follow through and keep the quality to a standard that they should expect when using these things. Yeah, definitely. That was something that was shocking. And I think when, especially with monetization, which is a big thing, is trying to find that successful recipe that you can use for all of your other apps. But I've noticed that it's different every time, because you can't make different experiences it might be a different demographic, so they act differently. And you need to try and find like a good successful formula to help people and encourage people to buy your either subscription or one-time purchase. So that's something that I definitely use analytics for mainly, is to try and be like, how can I improve this so that more people are seeing or hearing the upsells or hearing this. And that's what I think is really helpful, seeing those numbers there.
I loved all the things you mentioned about like successful conversational experiences from kind of a practitioner standpoint, like of how you measure and whatnot. But in terms of a user, what does a successful conversational AI experience means to them? Like while users were using them, what are they looking for? What does success mean to them?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you have the opportunity to use an app and you don't have to interrupt the experience and be like, you know what, I'm going to do this on my phone. It'll be quicker. Then that's a loss right there. If you can do something where, as a user, I can be like, oh, that was easy, or like, oh, that's so easy. Then you've won. Especially because we should get down the path of, like, over here, like with the pubs and stuff. If you're a local, especially, you walk into a pub, the barman will be like, "You want your usual?" And you're like, "Yes, please." And it's like they know you, and that's kind of where we want conversational AIs to head. Is that I can go on an app as a user, say I'm ordering a pizza. It knows that I get the same order every time. It's like we have Nando's here. I go to Nando's. I'll try something new from menu, but I end up getting the same thing. And that is behavior that my brain can recognize. The conversational AI will be like, this, you're probably going to order the same thing again, and just be like, do you want to get this, that, and this? Yes. Cool, done. End of conversation, finish. It's when I say no to that question that it then needs to work out, okay, this is tricky. She said no. What do I do next? Do I offer this, that, and this? Because I should know this person based off previous interactions. And it's personalization is something that will be very important for a user, because to create more successful experiences at the end of the day.
How can people create personalized products for people?
Yes, this is where the tricky question of, are you willing to give us a piece of your data? Because if yeah, this is why and this is kind of the taboo of all privacy. How much privacy do you actually need from a user? Don't go asking for stuff that you don't need, because at the end of the day, it's all about trust. I'm still a user at the end of the day. I try not to ask for any data from someone, from a user, because I know how it feels, you know. Um, but if I need to, then obviously you could use other authentication methods that people do actually trust, like log in with Google, log in with Facebook. Well, it's you can say trust, but um, yeah, so you could use other methods like that, so they feel more secure. Like, oh, okay, Facebook and Google, they're in control of the privacy. I'll leave it at that. But if you can, like for example, just getting someone's name, that adds a bit of personalization to an app where you're like, oh, hello, so and so. And that makes someone feel good. It makes you feel like it's a bit more personalized, it's a bit more like you and me. Um,
Mhm.
and then you can then get to start to know that person slowly. Just by knowing their name, use persistent data, you know that this person likes this person likes that, and then you can start to offer, as the more you get to know this person through interaction, start to offer more and more stuff that they may like to prolong that longevity. And it's like they always say, Netflix, I believe, has one of the best algorithms when it comes to suggesting movies and TV shows.
Right.
I really do something. I don't normally listen to recommendations that I'm recommended, like on YouTube, for example, because I feel like YouTube put me down a completely different path. But when it comes to Netflix, there's just something about the percentage match, thumbs up, thumbs down, and finding the next TV show to binge watch. They're really good at finding something that they think I'll like. And that's something that you want to kind of add into your own experiences, just by slowly getting to know that person, but not offering too much
Mhm.
information.
That is a really good point. I feel like it's funny that you say like for YouTube you don't follow their recommendations, but in Netflix you've probably fallen into it, and now they know you more than you
Mm.
probably know yourself, right? So it's pretty interesting. So we kind of have to bring that into conversational AI. So, but it has to be effortless at the same time, so they don't know that they're getting the product is getting to know you and it's recommending you proper results, right? So
Yeah, because
pretty
it's like
interesting.
social media, isn't it? Like it's, you get those ads. You talk about something, you get an ad
Oh my
about it. You know,
god, yeah.
it's like you talk about that. I really want to go on a holiday to Japan, and then all of a sudden you get flights and stuff coming to you, and people are so they're oblivious to that. That's how they're getting to know you. So I know there's that taboo of like they're always listening, but I believe that the conversation in AIs, it's all the same in that category, where they think that they're two different levels when it comes to the assistants and on your phone in general, where it's just anything connected to the internet, you know, it's all on the same level playing field. So but I won't get
Thank
too
you for
into that.
stating. I'm glad at least you touched upon it because it's true. Like people are kind of dividing them too, right? Like it's like, oh, my phone's fine,
Yeah.
but are you gonna buy an assistant? No, why? Yeah, so I've had those conversations too. So I'm glad you brought it up, and hopefully after listening to us talk, they're like, oh, okay, everything's good to go. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But one thing I definitely wanted to ask you, I loved how you talked about successful conversational AI products or experiences in terms of both a practitioner as well as a user side. So, for those listening in that are getting into the industry, what would be your top three recommendations to those that are building new products, new experiences, and help them build a successful one? What would be like your top three
Yes,
recommendations?
I would say, firstly, if you identify what you're good at and what you want to be good at, and either spend time learning from those who are really good at it, or hiring someone who is good at it so that you don't have to do it. So I'd say that's step one. Step two is definitely identify them, like learn about the market. So really get to know what it is that people like, especially from different countries. Don't think that everyone's the same. You know, you can see, even like you can look right now, if you go on the different marketplaces for different countries, and you'll see what is the top application for that country compared will be completely different to another country. So definitely have a look and research and experience, and also try out all these experiences as well, so that you know what kind of flow or where it should be heading and what the best practices are. And thirdly, like the most important thing is to just have fun with it, because you can really tell if through the experience itself, you can really tell if it's been made with like love, or if it's a fun, if it's been something that's been fun. Because at the end of the day, people will be trying it, and you can really see if it's, oh, is this another template or a pre-made app? You need to make it your own and really encourage people to just enjoy it at the end of the day.
Hmm. What's an example of a product that you made with love that was super fun to do?
Ooh. Um, I say the one that I love to do, and it keeps me going, is it's Music Bop Adventures, which is the one thing that actually was the one thing that made me continue into the voice space. And it's basically an app designed for kids. It's an audio adventure, so I originally didn't want to put it on YouTube because I thought YouTube was too saturated. There was too many, and I saw the opportunity in voice to put it on the platform because it was new, and I thought more people would have a chance to hear it. Um, and the reaction and the feedback from parents saying, "Oh, their kids love it" and stuff like that really just keeps me going to keep creating more. And I really did enjoy it because it was something I made when I was like 11, and just to
Oh, wow.
continue my 11-year-old's dream of may continue to make these adventures. I was definitely much more like imaginative when I was 11 than now, but um, yeah, I definitely think that's something that has kept me going. So I enjoy it. I enjoy making it for sure.
That's awesome. Why don't you talk about a little bit about some of the products you made? You talked about the music one, the game that really exploded in random industries and places that you didn't think were happening. Any other examples of products that you're proud of, and some you're like, oh, I wish I worked on it harder? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many for so many different reasons, because I think at this point I because during that gap year of mine, I made so many apps, and that was definitely quantity over quality in some cases. But this year, I've learned to I need to slow down, and like quality, so important, quality, like this, because like I said, the entry is so much higher now. People are expecting quality experiences. So I definitely think that there's just so many. I'm trying to think of one where it's been quite a journey with it. Um, and one is I'd say one that I wanted to make, which is such a journey. This is what it's called, horse race. It's quite self-explanatory. Is you're basically you'll have a couple of horses on the line, and you have to guess which one will win the race. Now, back in the day, when I say back in the day, like when I first started, um, I couldn't. There was the capability wasn't there to do that, so I had to put it on hold. And they, as more features have been released, and I was finally able to do it. So that was an app or a game that I really liked, and I've had that for so long. So even like with that idea, if you have ideas, don't bin them, don't throw them away, because there could be another time to use them and to utilize them. So that one is something that I'm proud of. I'm trying to use, and also it's a learning curve for me because I use that one as a way to play around with all the different features that come out, because it's always good to stay on top with the new features so that you're not overwhelmed later on. And no, yeah, there's that one, and there's one that I made which was like I called it Agent Do Good, a way to kind of encourage people to do good deeds um, in a way that was like a mission impossible. Like your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to help an old lady cross the street, for example, or say hello to your neighbor. So small good deeds, and I really liked that one. And I entered it into this competition, and I managed to become a finalist with it. So it was something that, again, I need to go back and revisit because it's been a long time since I did attend to it. But yeah, there's just so many. Like I just I love them all because like, what I'll do is I'll make experiences that I want to make, and that's the goal. So I'd say all of
Right.
them, but my favorite would have to be Music Bob Adventures, just because I see when I hear the kids are so happy with it and they're so excited. That's the best thing for me.
One thing I wanted to ask, just based off of a conversation, is the names of your products. I feel like they're so horse race is pretty straightforward, but like agent, like do good, and so how do you come up with the names for these?
Well, it used to be easier because you just name them like based off what you think people will say because it's how they invoke it. So I always say the best invocation names are the best like titles is command like sounds. So perfect example. There's an app out there literally called Find My Phone, made by Matchbox. Um, Such a perfect example of an application because you literally can say Find My Phone, which is the name of the app. Obviously, something which people would generally say if they want to find their phone as a command. And then you've got obviously names where you need to get people to remember. So I try and make them sound like a brand because that's another way you can do it. If you try and make it sound like a brand, everyone remembers like McDonald's and stuff. So if the names I choose at the start will mostly just be making them really easy to remember. And now, if I think that I want to give it that longevity, I need to make sure that they sound like brand names that could last forever. You know, that you could trademark and people would love. You know, but if you can
Okay.
find names that sound like commands, that you're onto a winner there.
Okay, good. That's also another tip then for like a
Yeah,
recommendation. I know we stopped at top three, but we can sneak in this one too. I really like it. I really like it. And I feel like it's really good to have something catchy as well,
yeah,
right? So it's a mix of being catchy, easy to say, and something that the devices can pick up as well, right? So
yeah.
it's
Easy
just kind
to
of a mix
say.
of the three.
Yeah, something
Mm-hmm.
clear, easy to say, so it doesn't recognize. Like with Music Bop Adventures, actually, the reason why I added adventure because it used to be Music Bop, just Bop, but I realized that for some reason people in the UK, um, it get mixed up with Box, so it would play this other app called Music
Oh.
Box. So I was like, I need to fix that, so I called it Music Bop Adventures, so that it knew right away what they meant. The US, I didn't have any problem with that. I think it's because you pronounce you're more like you pronounce that OP, you know, box. That was America. You really say it. So yeah.
Pop box. Okay, yeah, yeah. You don't realize it until like you mention it. How did you know that US was fine and the UK had those issues and you need to change the name?
Because I think during testing as well, like another important tip: test. During
Ah.
testing, I identified that why is it not opening this one, but when I go to the US side, it's fine. So yeah, definitely, it was the testing that helped me out and identified the issue, and also like the feedback I got as well. It was like this is not opening the app, so I was like, oh, okay, I think I know why now.
Interesting. Very neat. Did you also do some research in terms of names of like competitors, or did you just kind of you sound pretty creative, even though in the beginning you're like, yeah, I'm not that creative. Your names are like pretty solid. So, was it just something that you came up with, or did you do some research?
Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I need to stop saying that. When I first started, I didn't think about the other people's apps. You know, I just focused. I was like, I'm going to call it this. You know, um, And now you do kind of have to think about what names you're going to give, because firstly, the names, you, like I said, you can have a clash, a conflict of interest as well. So you want to make sure that if you're providing your experience, you don't want people to mistake it for another one. Um, and also, you spend all that time around this name just to then find out, oh, it's taken, or oh, I spent all this money on this logo and now I can't use it because it's been rejected. Because we have to remember as well, you're using platforms with different rules. They might not accept certain things, like there's definitely like for example, using Alexa, you can't have anything with Alexa in it. Like your game can't be called something Alexa, you know. So it's definitely important that you do think about the name first and check that you can have it. Because there has been instances where I've made a game and then all of a sudden I called it Where's Alexa? Because I wanted it to be a game where you try and identify where Alexa is around the world, and I had that all sorted, and then it was like, oh, you can't use that because it's got Alexa in the name. And then I had to change my whole game and change it to Alex, which was like, it was accepted Alex. So I was like, cool, I'll take that. But I had the hassle of changing everything, the logo. That was a hassle. So make sure you double check the names first.
Noted, noted. So what's the process of creating a product then? Would it be checking the name before anything else? Like what should someone do first?
I say have your idea, no matter how crazy it is, because you can then find out during development if it's acceptable. Go and check if it's been done before. So research the market. If it has been done, try out the experience that has done it, and then see if you can make it better, or read the feedback as well, um, to see how you can not make the same mistakes, for example. Then build it. Design your user flows. So try and make user cases for different people, and also like different scenarios. If it goes down this X, Y, Z, what do you expect to happen? Then make it. Then the name, if the name is important, it depends. If the name is like is supposed to be the forefront of the experience, then definitely double check if you can get that first. I know that like for Google platforms, um, for example, you can only have one. They don't share names, whereas on Alexa, multiple people can use the same name. So
Oh,
definitely
wow.
double check that you can firstly get the name, if the name is important. If it's something where you can just change and adapt, then fine. Because I've had experiences where I've had to have different names on different platforms just because it was either taken, or again the rules are different. So make it and then test it out on different people. Definitely test it out on different people. Again, don't go to family and friends. Don't, or go to someone who is probably the hardest person to impress. And if they like it, then you know you've got a winner. Um, and then once you've done that, the testing doesn't stop there, because beat the clock that I was talking about earlier. When I first released it, it was working fine in development, all good. It passed certification, and then I find out that it's not actually working live. So they actually have to check that it works live as well as in development. So, and then once you've got that, so and you submit it and it's all out there, like I would suggest don't give yourself a week. So let it play out a week, then go back, see the feedback if there's any, and you know fix it, and then come back to it now and again if you really like it. If you don't like it, fair enough, you tried, and you move on to another one. But if you really like it, don't give up. I say, obviously, there's some that you would pronounce dead, and you think, okay, I'm not going to spend any more time on it. But at the end of the day, if it's fun and it's something you enjoy, you can keep going, and it might blow up one day, and you never know.
Wow. Noted. I feel like that was such a good like way of understanding how to create products, and you talked about how things should be successful. That's perfect. I feel like that's so great. now we've actually come to our ending segment, which is called Create Your Own World with Conversational AI. So the idea is that I will give you a magic wand and you get to automate whatever part of your day or something that you really want to be automated with conversational AI, and something where you're like, I'm just going to leave it as is. It's good. And one other aspect I'm going to also say, because you're like a name guru and clearly you're like a killer when it comes to creating names, you're going to also name the this
Ooh.
new experience as well.
Um, one thing I remember that happened that I wanted to happen for the longest of time, but it's happened now, is like waking up to your favorite song, which is something I remember when they first introduced. I was into that Greatest Showman phase, and I would wake up to um, well, first I woke up to "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" because it seemed relevant, and then I would wake up to "Rewrite the Stars," and that to me was it's a great way to just start your day with a song that you like. Um, that's something I would never change now because I use it like all the time when I set an alarm. Set an alarm to this so and so at 7 o'clock. It does it. Boom! You wake up to music. So that experience I definitely keep. Something I really like. Now, if I have to think about something that hasn't happened yet, I think, and this is something I wanted to make, but I think it'll take for one person. It takes too long. So this is free advice for anyone. Um, I think when I'm driving, sometimes, so I'm a good driver, just saying it. Sometimes there's situations where you can't see the speed limit on the road, like you can't see the signs. And you're like, what is the speed limit here? You look at your Google map sometimes and it's not even on there. So wouldn't it be nice to have something where like, okay, Alexa, Google, whoever, Samsung, Bixby, what is the speed limit? And because it will know your location and stuff, it'll be able to determine what the speed limit is in that certain area. So that's something that I definitely would love to have, especially when there's times where there's no signs around or anything. And I definitely do think about that a lot. Wish I could do it. I probably could, but I feel like it needs a bit of research with that, especially because I thoroughly believe that assistants will be very big in the car. You know, they're starting to put those experiences in the
Yep.
car. So that's something that someone should definitely get into for sure.
That's a good idea. And like for those that are listening that know how to do this, contact Ilarna. You guys can work
I'll
together. We can
definitely
get
be
something
a
done.
tester if needed.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When you first said you were a good driver, I was kind of scared because I'm like, oh no. Usually, when people say they're good drivers, like you don't trust them right away. But I totally like once you got to the idea, it's actually a really good fact because even sometimes like, you get carried away, so you start not speeding, but you're driving, but you don't know whether or not
Yeah.
you're on the limit, and you don't be too slow for no reason and too fast and get caught, and
You
then
get people
it's just a
beeping, you're
mess.
like,
So it's
are you sure it's supposed to be am I supposed to go faster? You know, your people
yeah.
overtaking you and like, am I really that slow? I don't know.
No, I agree. Like I've definitely been in both cases where I've been a little too fast, where I'm like, nope, or like a little too slow. So that's definitely a really, really good idea for sure. That is awesome. Cool, cool. Good to know. So, hopefully, the next time we speak, you'll be working on this project with somebody or like starting this up. Hopefully, we'll just put it out in the air, just let that manifest and maybe that can become the next
Yeah.
big thing for sure. But really, really cool idea. But yeah, so with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I think today's episode was an amazing one. I feel like you really covered the basics of conversational AI, what it means to be a successful experience. I feel like you like dived in deep, really explained it really well, and I loved your experiences as well. So for those that are listening, we probably now look at you as the name guru who knows how to name all these games, experiences. So people might come at you, especially me, when it comes to names. So can't wait for that. So once again, yeah, thank you so much. We'll probably see you soon. And good luck with everything. And yeah, any last words?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was really fun, and no, yeah, just I just love everything. Firstly, I want to shout out the voice community because they're honestly the best community you could ever be a part of. Everyone is so friendly. helpful. And there's so many. If you do want to, I think, get to know the community more, there's Voice Lunch that you can go to, which is a great way to listen to people in the industry from different parts, and it's free as well. So you get to just hang out and listen to other people. So definitely check that out. And like I said, get to know everyone because everyone's so nice. We're like a big family, I'd say.
That's sweet, just like Ilarna. So that's good. Good to know.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Hope to see you soon. And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on a episode of Voice This. I hope you guys enjoyed navigating through the development lifecycle just as much as I did. And since you're here, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notifications. Turn that notification bell on if you don't want to miss another amazing episode of the Voice This podcast. I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. But until then, this is Millani, and you've been listening to and watching Voice This.